Hey guys, it's Anaya. Welcome back to the channel. This is the Soul Anaya. So, in the last video that I most recently did, I know that I explained to you guys that I was going to talk about why I took a hiatus and what happened during that time that I was gone off of my YouTube channel. So, we're just going to try to make this as quick and simple as possible without dragging this video out too long. So, a lot has happened from the months of November up until recently, and things really did start to take a turn. I would like to say back in October to September timeframe of 2022. I'll go back a little bit. So in March 2022 is when I started to feel some type of snap, some type of pull. Like I started feeling myself shift and change in different ways that I couldn't fully understand. And for the most part, I was remaining grounded in God and just holding on for dear life because I felt something shift. I felt something change. And with this change that ended up happening more recently, I did end up, getting diagnosed with cyclothymia, which is bipolar type 3. And it came a shock to me. I don't want to say it came to a complete shock. I think it was something I was in denial about for a while because my mom also, suffers from bipolar disorder. So I had the thought in my head that it was going to skip me, pretty much, because of how close I was to God, how committed I was to God. I, in my head, just thought that the Lord wouldn't do that to me. The Lord wouldn't, make me go through the same thing that my parents go through on a daily basis. I was wrong. And this is not to say that anything has, made, how can I explain this? I would say that things do happen for a reason, and everything is not a spiritual warfare type of deal. So if someone was born with some type of disability, some type of physical ailment, that does not mean that they are under spiritual attack. Some things really just happen in the physical realm that are not always fully explainable. However, I'm not someone that's going to sit over here and use me being bipolar as any type of excuse, as any type of crutch. I believe, and this is just my belief, I don't care if anybody agrees with me, but this is just the belief that I have and things that I have privately spoken to God about. So when I say, I was diagnosed with bipolar and things like that, I'm not sitting over here speaking, ill will on myself, because you have Christians that be like, don't speak those things over yourself and this and this and that. But in reality, we have to live in the real world. We have to live in reality. Everything is not spiritual warfare and a spiritual attack. It's not. Things really do happen in this physical realm. See how I'm wearing glasses? Not everybody that is born, has 20/20 vision. Does that mean that these people that aren't born with 20/20 vision, does that mean that they're under spiritual attack? No. Things just happen, and as Christians, we have to get out of this mindset that we're under constant spiritual warfare, because that's not the case. So my belief, and with talking to God, myself, is that I'm a vessel at the end of the day. I know that I'm chosen. I know that the Lord loves me, and I know that the Lord gives me the tools that I need to succeed in this life. And with that, He has put me on a platform and has given me an assignment to make people who are battling with mental health, to make them feel like they can do it themselves. That they can't sit over here and just sit around and just let things happen to them. That they can fight the good fight, that they can remain on this earth and do God's will in their life. They don't just have to succumb just because they're battling mental health. And I have always been very, very passionate about mental health since I was a little girl. So I just feel like God has allowed me to go through certain things or experience certain things so I can be able to help and assist other people as needed. And give other people the tools that help me battling my depression and battling my bipolar disorder. So like I mentioned in my previous video, I will be doing more videos on mental health. And, you know, again, we are not straying away from the Bible, because the Bible is very helpful. However, I will also be giving you realistic tools and advice so that you can use in your day-to-day life. So with that being said, with me getting that spiel out the way, basically what ended up happening was I was experiencing, so my mom got diagnosed when she was around 21, 22. So in March of 2022, I was 23 years old. So I started experiencing it. And for the longest time, like I said, I kept putting it on the back burner. I'm sitting over here blaming things on spiritual warfare. Oh, this and this and this and that. And that wasn't the case. I was starting to develop that ailment within myself. Because basically what bipolar disorder is, it is a chemical imbalance within the brain. That does not mean that it's spiritual warfare, if that makes sense. So I started experiencing a lot of things. I started getting really depressed. I started having a lot of suicidal thoughts. Now that can be spiritual. That is spiritual when it comes to suicide thoughts, because God will never put that on someone to make them want to kill themselves. I'll just put that out there. But you know, the devil was using that as fuel to pretty much mess with me and to get me to end things, essentially. And yeah, God, I was not going for that. My family was not going for that. And it was a long fight. It was a long battle. And that's part of the reason why I could not come on my YouTube page, because how am I supposed to speak life and speak positivity into other people if I myself am feeling dead and depleted? I can't do that. So I had to get right with myself. You know, now I am on a medicine to balance my chemical imbalances in my brain, and I am also seeking therapy. So there's help out there. I never want people to sit over here and stray away from medicine or stray away from therapy, because it does help. That stuff does help. It doesn't cure it, because automatically God heals everything, but it does help you, because we live in a physical realm. So with that being said, I am doing a lot better. And like I said, I want to be really consistent. And my goal for my channel is to, you know, just inform people and educate people on mental, you know, disorders and things of that nature. So, getting back to what ended up happening, like I said, I was experiencing a lot of depression. But in this point in my life, when things really was taking a turn, was, you know, more so in September, October, November timeframe. And with that, I was in the process of getting out of the military. The reason why I ended up getting out of the military was because they were forcing the COVID vaccination. And in my heart of hearts, God was telling me not to get that shot. Now, again, everybody has different beliefs, whatever the case is, but I myself was not getting the shot. And it's not to say that, basically, the easiest way I can explain what the whole shot and the whole mandate thing was, it had nothing to do with, you know, people, you know, I'm not even gonna speak on that. But what I will say is that it was pretty much a test on humanity. And with that test, it was basically testing humanity to see if you trust in man or do you trust in God. And now I'm not saying that people who got the shot or whatever the case is going to fall off into hell or whatever the case is, but it was almost like a trial period of who do you trust more? Do you trust in what man is telling you, or do you trust in what God is telling you? Because there were certain people that, because of the illnesses that were already festering within their system, that it required them to have this shot to end up not making them sick. But again, that's neither here or there. But like I said, how God explained it to me was that it was a test on humanity to see if humanity trusts more in God or they trusted more in man. Now, a lot of people, everybody who even didn't get the shot, they may not be spiritual, but at the end of the day, they knew something was up. And for me, at least in the military, they were basically taking away people's free will. I have a huge issue when things go against humanity's free will. If I can't choose to do something, I have a problem with it. And so with me being in the military, they were basically forcing us. And essentially what ended up happening was happening to a lot of people. And thank God it did not happen to me, because I really stayed in prayer actively. But a lot of people end up getting kicked out of the military for not getting this shot, and they ended up receiving disciplinary action. They end up getting things such as dishonorable discharges, and they were getting ridiculed by their leadership, and it was terrible to watch these things happen to people, and people this close to retirement, getting kicked out, and they served their country for 18 plus years, and all you had to do was make it to 20 years, and they literally pulled their benefits away from them because they didn't want to get this shot. And like I said, I can go more into detail, but this video is not about that. I'm just explaining to you guys the things that I was battling with literally actually since September of 2021. So I have been battling this whole COVID thing for like over a year, and it finally came to a close of November of 2022 when I exited the military. And for me, it kind of was bittersweet because I had served my country for about 5 years, and I had climbed up the rankings really fast. I had made staff sergeant my first time testing. Like, I was moving. I was getting all these awards. I was soaring through the skies. But one thing that you guys know I hold dear to me is God, number one. And I have a business called The Soul of Nye, which for abbreviation is for the sun. It is a Christian clothing brand. It is an urban Christian clothing brand. And that is my baby. And I feel like with the schedule of the military and the things that the military required of me, I could not put my time and my effort into my baby as I wanted to. And I know a lot of people might be like, oh, well, that's silly. Well, me personally, I am a natural born leader. And I know that, and I can speak on that. And I want to own a business. I am someone who does not want to work for other people for the rest of my life. And I'm not sitting here throwing shade at people who, they're content with that lifestyle. But me personally, the type of person I am, I have to be an entrepreneur. That's just what God has instilled in me, is to have my own business. And that is something that I strive for every day. It's not perfect. You're gonna win some, you're gonna lose some, but I do want to stay consistent and keep at it no matter who says what. And so during this time frame where I was experiencing getting out the military and stuff like that, I was very scared because God had gave me 3 different options. Because this is what people fail to realize in life. Your actions or your behaviors have effects no matter what, no matter if they're positive or negative. There's going to be some type of effect depending on what you do. And God also gives us choices in this life. It's not just a said and done thing. God does know what you're going to end up choosing at the end of the day, but essentially he gives you these choices so that we're not in this robotic way of being. So God gave me 3 choices when it came to 2021. He told me that I could be in the military, and he told me I could be successful no matter what. He said, however, if you commit, your life to the military for 20 years, whatever the case is, it will stifle your creativity, and you won't be able to do what you essentially want to do if you pretty much stay in for these 20 years. But you'll be successful in this career, but just know that you won't be able to go to the extent you want to go to by being in the military for 20 years. Then, because I signed a 6-year contract, I was supposed to be getting out of the military in 2024. But God was telling me, he was like, you can stay in for the rest of your contract, but just know that you're going to continue to be, unsatisfied, and it's just going to push what you are trying to do in your life on hold for a little bit longer. But if you trust me and jump ship while you have the chance to now, I can get you there a lot faster, a lot quicker. And so God gave me these 3 choices, and he said, pick A, B, or C. And I ended up picking C. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to peace out, because I know at the end of the day, as long as I follow God's will, he's going to have my back and he's going to have my best interest at heart. So that's what I chose to do. And during this time, I didn't have no backup. Like I said, I had been attached to the military for about 5 years. So you got to think, I wasn't fully used to the big people world or civilian life. Like, I joined the military when I was 18 years old. And so I didn't really know anything about insurance because the military had insurance covered. I was expecting a paycheck every month on the 1st and the 15th. I had a job. I had things. So when God told me to let everything go and put it in his hands, I had a lot of anxiety about it, because it's just kind of like, well, I know this, I'm used to this, I don't know what's on the other side. But what was kept pushing me was because the office and stuff that I was working at, I started having terrible leadership, and work was literally causing illnesses in my body. Like, I was literally getting tired, I was getting sick, I was drained, like my back was hurting, my feet was hurting. So this job was so much that it was like causing me to physically be ill and be sick. And so I was like, okay, I can continue to sit here and suffer and know where I'm gonna be at in the next 2 years, or I can jump ship now and possibly have the chance to feel better and to be better if I go ahead and jump ship. But either way, I don't know what's going to happen if I jump ship. It can go left, it can go right. And so I took that leap of faith, put my military boots down, and was like, all right, I'm gonna just be out here, but Lord, you have to take me, because if you don't take me, I'm a fail. And so, you know, I don't know if y'all have ever, you know, I've talked about this on my channel before, but sometimes how mama birds teach their birds how to fly is they drop them out of the nest. And if the baby bird doesn't learn how to fly, of course the parent bird is there to go ahead and swoop and stop the baby bird from falling and crashing to his death right before it's too late. And so that's basically what God did. God pushed me to my limits, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm really about to fail. Like, I'm really about to fall off the wagon. And what I mean by that, it was like when I left the military, I took the last bit of money I had in my savings, moved myself from Oklahoma all the way to Atlanta, Georgia. I had no job. I had no more money, but I used the rest of the money that I had and purchased an apartment, or started renting an apartment. And I was pretty much living off of credit cards for like 3 months, 3 to almost 4 months. And it was getting so bad, like my mental health was so bad. My mom was gonna come get me. She was like, if things don't turn around by February, I'm coming to get you. And I was so adamant on not coming back to Jersey, because that's where my family's at. And like, I never want to go back to Jersey. And like, you know, I love my family and stuff like that, but there's nothing in New Jersey for me. So I'm like, I have to make something shake. If I don't make something shake, like, this is gonna be so devastating to me. And my mom was like trying to tell me, she was like, you know, you could just come back home for like 3 months to 6 months, get back. And I was not trying to come back home. Like, y'all, I would have wanted rather lick the sidewalk and eat rocks than to go back to Jersey. Like, this is how bad I did not want to go back. And it's not because like I didn't love my family or anything like that. It's just that I had been so independent for so long, to have to go back and depend on people would have crushed my spirit. So I'm like praying to God. And then I did end up, you know, getting a temporary job where I wasn't working necessarily every day, but I was making enough to pretty much get myself something to eat. I really had to step back and just do little things here and there. And it humbled me just a little bit, because again, you got to think, like, I was accustomed to the military, and I'm like, you know, holding on to the military for dear life for the past 5 years. And now I'm in the AKA real world or whatever. And not to say that the military wasn't challenging, but just the basics of life was covered for me in the military, and now I have to fend for myself. And so it was just a different experience. And again, you know, I'm 24, so clearly if I joined the military when I was 18 to 24, like, that's kind of like when you're starting to be an adult anyways. So it was almost like I felt like I was starting from scratch, like I was 18 or 19 all over again. So but then I did end up landing a permanent position, and I'm in my job, and I do love my job and things like that. So we'll talk about this in another video. But I say all this to say that because it is still my personal life, so I do try to, you know, fill you guys in as much as possible. But you guys basically get the gist of pretty much why I was on this hiatus. Like, I was literally trying to get it out the mud all over again and trying to do it to the best of my ability. And the crazy part is I thought it was going to be a lot smoother than I was anticipating, especially because I just literally let go and let God. And I did have someone that was close to me in my life that I thought was going to assist me a lot more But, and I mentioned this in my last video, it was someone that I really held to a high regard. And then this is the problem why us as humans, we cannot hold other humans to high regard, like, you know, because they essentially can disappoint you. And, you know, the situation that happened really did hurt me, it really disturbed me in a lot of ways, but God assured me that the reason why the things that happened the way that they happened is because this person would essentially try to get credit for what he was doing. And at the end of the day, what we have to realize, when you're sitting here and you're watching people on YouTube or watching people on TikTok and on TV and stuff like that, these people can look and have a certain appearance one way, but you don't know what they're doing behind the scenes. And you don't know what type of battles they're battling with God behind the scenes. And a lot of times, y'all know that scripture when it came to David and Saul, and, you know, Samuel was looking for a replacement for Saul, and, you know, all these people presented themselves and they looked the part, and God was like, no, man looks at the outward appearance, I look at the heart. God can see somebody's heart a mile away before we can even see somebody's heart. So if God is telling you something, you better listen, or you're going to learn and you're going to find out the hard way, just like I had kind of did. And it's crazy because I kind of had an inkling about this individual, but I was still trying to, like, I'm like, nah, it just can't be, like, nah. But no, it actually was that. And this is why it's important for you to listen to that gut feeling, that intuition, which is also known as Holy Spirit. It's very important for you to listen to that, because if you don't listen to it, you're going to end up getting bit by the snake later. So, like I said, with my transition, I really did expect it to go a lot smoother, but I ended up learning the hard way that sometimes it really is going to be you and God in the mud, and you can't get mad because man or humankind is not doing what you expected them to do. You really have to sit back, take a deep breath, and just look at God. And again, it's not like I have any ill will towards this person, whatever the case is. If they come back around, they come back around, cool. But I just know that at the end of the day, the only person that's really going to have you at the end of the day is God. You cannot depend on nobody like that but God. You know, God puts people in your life for a certain reason, for a certain season, et cetera, and, you know, you built these relationships with people and stuff like that, and they can come around for a season to give you things such as encouragement, such as, you know, other things or whatever the case is. But again, you don't know what people are battling within themselves and in their heart. And if God can read all that and he's telling you no for a reason, or he's telling you to back off for a reason, listen, because I'm telling you right now, if you don't listen, you're going to experience something that you shouldn't or you didn't want to experience. So you better listen to that inkling when he be like, even if it's the smallest thing and they didn't show you anything, listen to God, because he sees that heart more than you can see it. So, you know, I'm going to be trying to do like a lot of videos today, whatever the case is, but I'm going to just, you know, spread them out. But I just wanted to give you a little spiel on basically why I took a hiatus. And, you know, I love you guys. And I see you guys in the next video. Peace.